Namaste and greetings from Ekam Ias Academy. Today, we, the students of Ekam Academy, are discussing on the topic of One Nation, One Election. Recently, to the issues of One Nation, One something, like One Nation, One tax and One Nation, One ration card, the issue of One Nation, One election has been on the table for discussion, and the nation is contemplating on its possibilities and its implications. Hence, today we hear with a panel of people supporting it and others who are ready to present the cons of the proposal. We present you the discussion. The proposal of one nation, one election is not new for India. Basically, when we started as an independent nation from 1952, 1956, 1962 and 1967, there were simultaneous elections conducted in the nation. But first time in 1959, when the Kerala Assembly was dissolved, and then in 1969, the Lok Sabha was dissolved due to the prevailing conditions, the cycle was discontinued, and hence the simultaneous elections were not thought upon very seriously. But recently, the current government, with a purpose to catch the psyche of the voter, the intentions to concentrate the will of the nation towards the center, they are proposing the formula or the proposal of one nation, one election. Here I open the floor for the discussion and I invite people for the discussion to give their perspective.
Good afternoon. So on today's topic, I'll be talking on the favor of the topic, that is one nation, one election. The main theme of one nation and one election was people should have a good governance. As you all know, a Niti Aayog report that was released in the year 2016, it has clearly mentioned that for central, for 5 years, one election happened, whereas for state, for 1 year, one election happened. In this era, if we look at the governance purpose, that is the policies that are implemented by the state to the people, are very limited. They change from government to government. If there is a change in government, those policies are the implementation of policies is erupted. So there will be a kind of disruption that will happen if there are different kinds of elections in the central as well as state.
Is what you have said that expense is a concern for government?
Not the expense, I'm talking about the governance, that is the policies that will be implemented. Not in terms of the economy, in terms of the implementation of policies.
But it is disrupting the federal nature of a constitution.
When we see at the federal structure, when we are implementing a policy, we as a democratic country are responsible for the people in the first place, rather than the relation between the central and the state. As a democratic nation, our responsibility is to serve people first, then look at the government next.
What if government prematurely dissolve? It will deny the autonomy of states and federation. Federation is basic structure of the constitution. You cannot change. It's a judgment of Supreme Court.
Basically, I want to give dimensions of the point being considered. The people for the point saying are those who are in favor of the continuation of policy and the governance structure of the nation. But at the same time, it is being said that the federation, the nature of federation of India and the principle of federalism, which is enshrined in the constitution, which will get affected. Let's see how the answers will be posed to this question.
Okay, we were talking about federation, right? So we are more about cooperative federalism is one of our ideas. So if we have simultaneous elections, there is no evidence which says that we will be losing federalism. So I can give you the example of Andhra Pradesh and Odisha, who are still with Lok Sabha elections, whose elections happen simultaneously. And their regional parties are in power from so many decades. And regional ideas have never been overpowered by Lok Sabha elections. And I can also give you the example of Delhi in 2014, when Lok Sabha elections happened. It is the national party which has won all the 7 seats of MP. But after 6 months, when 2015 Legislative Assembly elections happened, we can clearly see the regional party coming up. So it's never that we'll lose federalism, because we have seen that never the ideas of states or the interests of states have been neglected when Lok Sabha elections were simultaneously conducted with states.
But it militates against the idea of basic structure, which the federalism, which is a basic structure of our constitution. As we have non-simultaneous elections as of now, many states are going for elections every year. As of when we consider along with the Lok Sabha elections, only 5 states go along with the central elections. But if we consider going for a one nation, one election in next year, probably almost 20 states would lose their half of their assembly terms. It goes against their federal right. And also, you have mentioned that there is no chance of regional issues being neglected. But let us consider a recent example when a Prime Minister came to Telangana recently. He talked about turmeric board, which was neglected for the past 4 years. Is it not for the only election stunts? If we consider one nation, one election, there would not be elections at the state level and central level for 5 years. So there is a clear chance that they would neglect the regional issues until the election comes.
So
He has at least spoken a year, almost 8 months ahead of the parliament elections at least.
In this regard, I would pose a situation. If one nation, one election is implemented in 2024, let's consider until 2026, the state in which the simultaneous election was held, it continues the government and it dissolves due to certain issues. What is the fate of that state, the governance of that state from 26 to 29, in case the next simultaneous election is scheduled in 29? So prime concern of the people against the federalism or the governance issue is the dissolving nature or the dissolving possibilities of Indian political system, where governors and presidents act upon the advice of Council of Ministers, where they can dissolve the state assemblies or the Lok Sabha in times of uncertainties. How there can be a solution to this issue?
So, to address the first point, this would be a one-time activity. Like every time we would not be changing the tenures of the government. And secondly, he has mentioned that Prime Minister has come down to Telangana to do the campaign and everything. That's the whole point. When there are continuous elections, our national leaders and everyone is engaged in the state election propagandas and everything, campaignings. So we can avoid that. And thirdly, what is the formula we'll be getting if the government is losing the majority is the question. So from Law Commission report, we have a alternative which has Law Commission has suggested of having constructive no confidence vote, which is actually an alternative government where the minority may not rule completely. It's the elected ones who will form the alternate government. So I think I addressed the question.
Let's see.
What about the defections? You have talked about minority governance or regarding the no confidence aspect. Then what about the defection issues and by-elections as a result of death of the candidate?
Basically, one more point. In alternate governments, it is prima facie the minority rule, which defeats the purpose of democracy also. Alternate governments means the majority government has lost its confidence. The people have lost its confidence and there is an alternate government. So the purpose of instituting an alternate government is to continue the governance, but it is a minority rule of minority, which is against the purpose or the intent of democracy. How do you see this issue also?
So the minority government is not always that they're not elected. They are elected by the people itself. They come into the house where house is not having the confidence. It's not always that the whole they are not someone who are not elected, or the opposing candidates who have not won the elections. They have won the elections, but the house should have the confidence in them. That's what is expected. And so I think by forming an alternative government, we are not bringing a minority government, but we are bringing a government which is having confidence in the house. And secondly, addressing the defection one. So when you have, we can reduce the horse trading of politicians in simultaneous elections, because whether they stay in the same party, or if they go to the other party, whatever it is, the elections are fixed in intervals. So we can reduce the horse trading. Even though if he wants to collapse the government, the whole government collapse, he has to resign to again come into power. So because in these conditions, we can go for a by-election, or we can go for other elections. But when the intervals are fixed, we can't go for the other elections. So there will be some regulation on defections.
As you said, at extending the tenure or allowing the government to continue under minority rule. But it is not feasible.
It's not minority rule, it's an alternate government in which the house is going to have confidence in. It's not that they're not completely someone who is not elected. They are the people who are elected.
For the awareness of viewers, the question posed from the audience is that the minority rule, which is being posed as a question, the numbers say that minority government itself is, the numbers are in minority. So how do they prove the majority? Because the ruling government, after getting the halfway mark, they are in the majority, and once they get down, the alternate government, basically it has to be from the minority, or the people, or the number of MPs or MLAs which are in less than halfway mark. So how does that substantiate the argument of being an alternate government? Because government means basically which has the confidence of people, and in terms of numbers, it is which crosses the halfway mark in Indian context of political system. We also follow as the first past the post system. That is the argument being posed. How do you see this? How do you provide a solution?
I'll answer this one. So the alternate government, whatever we're talking about numbers, can be from the other parties, or from the other elected members also. It need not be the same party which with like the same minor party. They can have coalitions also to.
The coalition proposal which is being put, it amounts to defection. Please involve in the debate actively.
As allowing the government other than a majority, it is indirectly denying the rights of a people to vote for a government. Because our basis of our structure of a government is parliamentary, which is all relied on majority. So how can we, it is not conducive.
This is not exact violation of democracy is what I feel, because people who will again come on to the rule are from the same house. But one thing I will definitely accept is the one which actually formed the government in the starting stages will not continue, which will bring some paralysis to the system. But the thing is, when we see the cost benefit ratio, for 2-3 years having elections again is being very costly for the country. And again putting a code of conduct again for all.
You're saying that simultaneous elections will definitely help the people or the system, right? But what I say is, in the history also, there are many governments who dissolved before the tenure period. What should we do on that period? Shall we implement the president rule, or shall we reconduct the elections?
I think this needs a formula which should be scientific.
For that, we need to amend many constitution articles. That will take a lots of time. As of now, it's not possible.
The constitutional amendments which he is talking, that also involves the ratification of 50% of the state assemblies. So that is a long drawn process, and the intensity with which this one nation one election is being pushed, it doesn't seem feasible in the short run. So in long run also, how do you see if it can be implemented or not?
According to the ECA and Niti Aayog report, and election may not be so much very much cost effective when we conduct simultaneous elections.
In the cost effective dimension, I have a small statistics for the audience. The current expenditure of Election Commission of India is rupees 10 per year per voter when elections are not simultaneous, and when elections tend to be simultaneous, the estimates are that the expenditure per voter per year will be rupees 5 per voter per year. So for that component of rupees 5, considering 70 crore voters, 350 crore per annum, around 1750 crore for the period of 5 years, can we afford to compromise with the ideals of democracy, with the ideals of federation? How do you see this prospect of implication of this proposal?
See, when we are talking about the rupees 10 and rupees 5, with simultaneous elections and without simultaneous elections, everything starts with a small change. See, for initially anything to happen, we have to see the either sides of the coin. See, the positive and negative exist for both. If we see only the negative and not the positive, okay, let's take an example. At least rupees 5 is getting reduced from rupees 10. If we take it in a particular state, it gives a lot of benefit for that particular state. When we see the budget components, we have the revenue as well as the expenditure. Our government is there in such a position that we are having excess amount of expenditure where our revenue is very less. This revenue will intact fall on the people in form of taxes and in form of other things. So this will again affect the people who are living in the country. So small change is also a good one, according to me.
But for a country like India, if we spend that much amount in one go for an election, what about the remaining needs that welfare of the people and other things that the government?
Now according to Niti Aayog report, it has estimated that about 60,000 crores were spent in the 2019 elections. Okay. Now, if we take the 2024 elections also, it would be more than that, because now we are the populous country in the whole world according to UN report. When we see in that sense, I would also like to add another point where people are accountable for the democracy. That will be one of the point. Now, if we see the voter percentage, according to the same report, it was 70% in the 2019 elections, where most of them were from the minorities and the people who were in villages, the main problem was the working professionals were not actively participated in the elections. But when we take one nation, one election into consideration, there is a high possibility that the voting percentage will also increase, which is very good for the government, what I feel. Because people are someone who are accountable for the democracy. Democracy is everything about people.
You're saying that voting percentage will increase. But according to the recent statistics, in April 2019, 26% of the people, they are not applied even for the voter ID card. So once they applied at one time, it will be a lot of chaos in between the system. That huge amount of data management and a background verification that done by ECA will get affected.
It will get easy actually. The the voters' role, if the elections are not conducted simultaneously, it needs to be updated every time. So if it's simultaneous elections, all are eligible and ready to vote for center and also the state. But when the state is conducting elections separately and the center is conducting separately, the voter list needs to be updated, which is being very difficult task.
These are valid points, that convenience of the voter will increase once in 5 years, and the voter list updation, that is a hectic process as scale of India, that also will be done once in 5 years. But in this, the report by IDFC Institute in 2017 says that there are 77% chances that the voter will vote for the same party at the state and the national level when simultaneous elections are being conducted. You can take over.
I think
Yes.
that's not the case.
Whatever I said is right.
That's the finding as per the report. That's not my statistics.
But in India, we can, the report is, I think, in India, if you see for Andhra Pradesh and Odisha, you have been seeing them. From last 20-25 years, the regional parties are in rule. the elections happen simultaneously. Never had their regional interests been suppressed.
It is not that people does not vote for the regional parties. It is that people tend to vote for the same party when the elections are held at a time. For example, in 2019 in Andhra Pradesh, YSRCP has been voted for power in both the parliament and assembly seats. Same has been the trend when we consider backwards 2009, 2014 TDP also. For example, we consider the tendency towards the national parties. In 2015 assembly elections in Delhi, BJP has got only 3 seats. But when it comes to 2019 parliament elections, BJP has swept all the 7 parliamentary seats of Delhi. So I'm saying that people tend to towards the central when voting has been held only for one time.
That's the reason why in 2019 election also, Telangana government dissolved before the 10-year period.
See, we all are living in a generation where people actually doesn't know what is one nation, one election. So if it's not 100% possible that government will try to implement this particular scheme in the next year. But if it tries to implement in the upcoming 5 years, we can create awareness among people. What is one nation, one election? What is the importance of regional party as well as central party? We are living in a country where awareness can create lots of changes. That's what I feel.
But when you consider elections being held at one at a time, because as per the terms given to the recent committee appointed under former President Ramnath Kovind, it is said that the elections will be held at a time for the parliament, assemblies and local bodies also for the entire 3 tiers. It amounts to 543 MPs and 4,100 MLAs and nearly 90,000 urban representatives and 32 lakh rural representatives. It would amount to a Hercules task on the election commission as a whole in amount of logistics, human resources, security personnel, everything.
The question being posed is, even if idea is feasible, that is logistically not possible, considering the resources of Election Commission of India, the security forces and the awareness which you are talking about. Had it been so that awareness can be created, it's been 70 years, and are we seeing the awareness?
I think it's not so tough because when we got independence, we were less literate, we had less infrastructure. That was the time when we brought in teachers, army personnel, and everyone to create the infrastructure. Now,
We have a opinion from the audience that literacy rates have nothing to do with political awareness, and particularly in India, religion, caste and regionalism also play significant cards in elections.
People tend to get moved by the mood of the party or the community or the local issues being trumpeted.
so
Even today, it doesn't have voter percentage more than 67% in this awareness.
that's what we can increase the voter percentage, right? We can people will come to vote for both the state and center for one day. So taking off for more days, like 2-3 times, it is better to go with one time. Sir, if I'm an voter in Telangana but I'm working in Bangalore, in Pune, so it's a different case that I have to come here. If it's Telangana, if I stay in Telangana, I'm voter of Telangana, I would be enjoying the holiday and I'll be going and voting.
But the election commission has put forward some of the new trends like electronically transferable voting systems. They can be muted in terms of non-simultaneous elections.
But are we implementing or using it?
The suggestion from the audience is that if the voter is from a state where election is being conducted and he is residing in another state, there can be laws enacted by the government that the employer or the conditions where the voter is residing, there has to be compulsory holiday or arrangements being made against the submission of the receipt of vote, that they should be allowed to go to their native state and vote.
But will the private institutions allow this?
That's the question from this side to you.
It will increase more expense of a government if we conduct one time whole elections, because we need more EVMs. So they are talking about expenses, and it is leading to increase overexpense.
I think election commission will get more time to think on infrastructure if there is no continuous elections.
Cause of concern is expense.
Expense?
You cited that cause of concern is expense. But
Expense
if
is a cause of concern, but infrastructure is also something which you are raising, right? If we have money, we can get infrastructure. So if to make a robust infrastructure, we need to have money. So
If
we
I-
can cut down the costs of election, bring up a better infrastructure and infrastructure qualities.
why there is expense need to be a cause of concern? Because India is the fifth largest economy. Why the expense is a cause of concern? India is the fifth largest economy in the world, and also to exercise freedom of speech. Election is one of the tools of freedom of speech, and it is a core principle of democracy.
We are trying to cut down many expenses in many ministries. In defense ministry, we have come up with Agniveer and different pension schemes. Why are we coming up with all this when we are fifth largest economy? We are trying to bring in quality, then quantity, and not wasting money uselessly on something which is not so productive.
It is not right to view voting as a wasteful expenditure, because in our discussion we are restricting the choice of voter, and also we are viewing voting exercise as a mechanical and instrumental exercise rather than a celebration of
Choice
democracy.
of voter. How are we denying choice of voter?
Consider if the elections are held simultaneously at one time, the national issues get predominance over the local issues. People
That did
don't.
not happen in Delhi. That did not happen in Orissa.
People
So
don't vote for
it's
the
not
local
always
cause. People don't vote for the local cause because people are not aware. They are not.
People are only aware of their local problems.
I'm saying that people are not politically well aware to choose which should we vote for, because there will be EVMs kept for three, for the national, the state, and the local elections. He will tend to press the same button for all the EVMs. There's no choice that he will decide. He doesn't even remember the candidate name also. He will remember only one thing,
they
the
will
party
know the
symbol.
local parties better
The
than
big-
the regional parties.
The bigger concern
I mean
here,
the national parties.
the bigger concern here is playing with the behavior of voter, playing with the psychology of the voter.
Because the national government, anything, whatever the party it is, the national government will have the power of media and money. It will tend to build narratives stronger than the regional parties.
If elections happen simultaneously, the same national party has to bring its machinery to the whole country, which is like if it has 100 crores for suppose to spend on the elections, it should spend with the whole country. Whereas the regional parties, if they have 50 crores also, they have to spend only for their state or the other 2-3 states in which they are. So in point of machinery used by different parties, that is national party having more equipment, how much ever equipment they have to move that for the whole country. The people they have, the money they have, the funding they have to use for the whole country. Whereas state parties will only concentrate in their state. So the machinery equation is very much balanced when it goes with simultaneous
Yes,
elections.
you're saying about the machinery that should be rotated over across the country. It means simultaneously the voter percentage will also be reduced, because we have only one day to vote. In that one day, how can we utilize that time? And
Elections won't happen in one day for the whole country. It will be for 3-4 months phase wise. So it's like if northwest one phase, like that, they'll divide into phase and it will happen in 3-4 days. 3-4 months. The only thing is one state will have it one day. That's it. It's not that.
It means rotating the infrastructure
But the
across the
code
country,
of
it will be
conduct
difficult, right?
the code of conduct will be the same duration.
If we keep on conducting elections in the 3-4 months, then what is the model code of conduct?
See, you're asking for 3-4 months. We are conducting it for 3-4 years.
No, the point has been dragged towards other dimension, because my point has been about the narrative building. Per se, let us consider a war has been declared against our enemy. The perception would always be on the national interest. People will also be forced towards the narrative that we are a unit, we have to vote for the single government which is nationalist at the center. But let us consider there are state issues, it will get neglected. Even before that, we consider a panchayat where people doesn't have a better sewage system or anything like that. Even at that cost, he will not consider the local sewage issue, but he will vote for the national cause in terms of war scenario.
In 2019, when Pulwama attack happened,
Yeah, that was what I said.
there were states where center did not come to power also.
It was a low scale war, a low scale battle. It was not a full fledged war, but I'm saying in scenario of war.
See, whatever it is, it depends on the people. There is no kind of confusion that will be created in the people. When you're talking about traditional media, that is the traditional media and social media, now people are well aware that whether a person is cheating them or not. People had gained that much IQ and knowledge that they know to which party they have to vote. As we, if we see the Karnataka elections, that was a complete turn. The survey was different and the result is different. So people know what to vote. There is nothing a sort of confusion that will happen among the people.
The point being presented is Indian voters are aware. They know where to vote, what to vote, and whom to vote.
No, because at the time of adoption of our constitution, the electorate which chose our constitutional representatives were very less. The electoral body was very less. People did not choose a system of parliamentary by their own because they were not aware enough.
So
But
we can't-
even people after choosing the right person, when we conduct the simultaneous elections, the public representatives will disappear for 5 years, even in the center and state.
The accountability question is being posed, right?
Yes.
As of now, when there are non-simultaneous elections, the central government and the state governments, when they come one after another, the people are holding them accountable for their respective promises, respective domains of authorities. So once simultaneous election is being conducted, the accountability question will be dominated, or accountability will reduce in terms of voters asking for accountability. That's the point they are trying to present.
5 years is a good time when we have decided to make them accountable. I think when we started our elections also from our constitution point of view also, I think 5 years is a good time because more of instability is also not good for the country.
Very
After
valid.
conducting the elections, the public representatives
People
will
doesn't
not
have any other avenues to express their grievance and make the representative accountable. People feel voting is the only avenue where they can express their anger and make the representative accountable.
See, in this matter, we can drag the social media into this, where through social media, people can raise their concerns, and through which many governments had clarified them and have given solutions for them. In this way, we can use social media in a positive way.
All the people doesn't have access to social media, and also the internet penetration is very low, and also the people who are using smartphones are very low. Many are using feature phones still today.
See, for a particular village, if there is a problem for one person, that will be a problem for the whole mandal or village. One person can represent the whole thing in social media. That is what I'm telling.
See, redressal mechanisms have very much bettered itself in past 75 years. So it's always, elections are the highest and most important to hold the representatives accountable. There's no doubt in it. But we have other mechanisms to also to hold them accountable.
Can you state what are those mechanisms?
One of the mechanisms which people are my friends are trying to put is right to information, maybe.
Right to information is there, citizens charter is there, we have institutions like CAG. So it's that we need, one thing I can accept from your side is the awareness thing. The penetration of awareness may vary in different levels, but we can't tell that because our people are not aware, we are not going to do this. We will be the failure if our people are not aware. It's our duty to make them aware.
But as she said that using social media for public domains, it may influence negatively. It will influence negatively more than positively.
Because in social media people are religiously biased, and mostly you see that ruling government is playing that card.
The influence of social media which you tried to present in a positive manner, the contention is that the use has been done in a negative manner, and the present government is also continuously imposing internet shutdowns and deleting the kind of hate speeches and all, which is against themselves.
It
So
again
the
also create chaos in the people and the decision.
content moderation. content restriction is also there.
Regarding the accountability mechanisms, you have said that there are other mechanisms like RTI, the CAG reports and others, but their reports are not being put into action. Effectiveness is not there. The accountability is not fixed.
Our stress should be on that more than conducting elections every year. So we can invest our infrastructure, our money, our time, pressure on that.
Even more than the infrastructure, people and also the state governments or the parties, they need trust factor, because there is a fear that there is a growing trend of authoritarianism, because we have been seeing a trend of one nation one language, and also the dam safety bills, and also the ration card bills, and also there is the constitutional bodies are being diluted. Recently we have seen the controversy regarding the election
But
commission.
that's not failure of the election, right? It's
Because
the failure of the system.
people feel that
Anyone who comes to the power, anyone who can take the advantage of it.
when it is simultaneous, people feel that the central government, the party which is at the center, may manage the elections using the power.
No, if it really happens, also it will only happen in one wave. Because when we started elections, we had that inhibitions. But later on, people understood what the system is, and they have started voting according to their interests. So it may happen once, if it really happens. But afterwards, people would realize. I don't think people would not be aware of the...
So the point being presented is, it might happen in long term. The awareness may be created and the positive implications will be
It will
realized.
not take long term, because the information and technology which we have, the way it's spreading, though there may be fake news, there is no doubt there will be fake news, but people will get aware of what is fake and what is right also. So because we fear that something negative would happen, we are not initiating the baby steps is not correct.
How many countries are conducting this one nation, one election? There were developed countries more than India, right?
They are all developed countries more than India.
Like developed countries are also there. India is developing, but there are developed countries.
The size and scale of the countries which are already conducting one nation, one election or simultaneous election is the question of the question of the time, where India is such a large scale, such a diverse country. Is it feasible to compare international scenario with Indian context, and how does it suit the Indian political arena?
India was asked, I was asked, it was when the constitution, when we conducted our first elections. So even that time we have taken the same way. So there was a good contemplation of going with the simultaneous elections then itself, and we were very much diverse at that time with more problems of India-Pakistan partition.
The question being posed. The question being posed from the audience is that in international scenario, the scale of the countries is very minuscule, and Indian context, the scale, the geography, the international countries, out of 194, only 3 are conducting, and the geography of those countries together can be one state of India. So the question is not about diversity, the question is of scale, and adjusting to the scale or implementing the infrastructural capabilities according to the scale of India. Point of concern is context of India.
And also the system they have adopted is a variation of proportional representation, unlike India's first past the post. So it becomes a very complicated again.
And Sweden population is 1.04 crores and our Delhi population is more than 2 crores. Our state population is more than the country's population.
And Britain tried for some years. It failed.
See, if a country failed, that doesn't imply that we may also fail. Coming to the scale, if we see the population...
No. It's not country failed. The point is, we ourselves in history, we have stopped the practice due to implications of president rule articles and all. His point is, internationally, they might be successful. But in Indian context, historically, we have seen the negative implications of one nation, one election. How do you...
Despite they don't have a diversity, they failed. How can we going to implement this, and how can it is feasible?
Election Commission told Election Commission when asked about the feasibility of conducting elections, they told that India is really equipped to conduct simultaneous elections.
The point being posed from the audience is the question from the political executive to the administrative executive. They will have to agree for the point for the time being, and if they go against the political executive, the dissent is not so encouraged in India. And the agreement of Election Commission of India is on administrative basis. How can that be evolved in future with respect to scale and also with respect to political executive and administrative executive consensus?
Okay, what are the main technical reasons that we will not be able to make a feasible elections?
Let me put forward a basic question that we have adopted parliamentary form of democracy from our colonial masters. Even they are not following simultaneous elections. Do you think that we are so politically, our population is politically so aware than the England population?
I definitely think yes. We are very much
And
aware.
one more thing, as you mentioned about they are not having, means they are not implementing, why should we? The bureaucracy, the collectors also are not there in the particular system now, but still we have a particular power for the bureaucracy in India. We are implementing it, right?
We are aware because we are studying in a particular field. Because our education system is not good to make people aware.
Mike Najib.
We are aware because we are studying in particular field, but people don't know because our education system do not taught this.
No, people are aware of elections. Of course, they are aware.
Not
of
about elections, about this criteria, one nation, one election.
That's what we just initiated. We need to bring awareness. Anything is new when it gets started. Space is new.
The question being posed is in federation, when particular scheme by the center is announced and there is a collective voice from the states in against of the center scheme, how the voice will be given its due importance, how the mechanism of dissent or mechanism of federation, the concept of federation is the cooperation between center and state and among states. The implications of one nation, one election, and the question which being posed, how can that be addressed?
So when will be one point which he spoke that
Allow me 1 minute. The question. Okay, you can continue.
you have mentioned like ruling party is trying to spread the religion, right? When we have the elections in the state will be using only three things. One is caste, the very important one, through which people indeed in them caste discrimination is happening. We cannot point out that because of simultaneous elections these all things could happen. Those happen in absence of simultaneous elections also. People win based on caste and religion.
I am not criticize state government. I criticize ruling party for their Hindutva ideology. You talk. I cited when you talk about social media. So I am telling that people are biased, and they are getting more biased through social media, and that tool of religion is using ruling party to rule country.
See, my point is, before social media, what was responsible for people's caste, living our history? Politicians were the one who had inbuilt people's casteism in them. See, now if a person comes, I am from some so and so caste, those people all will be voting for him only. He is the one who had inbuilt those caste discrimination in them, is my point. That happened because of state elections. It could happen because of state elections, even though because of simultaneous elections, is my point.
Even before implementing simultaneous elections, the point being said is caste identities, religious polarization existed, and the point of social media inflating the polarization does not stand valid or does not affect the proposal in such depth and its intent.
Before the social media was not in power, the UPA government was there. So I don't think that UPA government play the card of this religion.
the issues of religion, caste are being the narratives used by the political parties to garner the votes. So I am saying that when the elections are held simultaneously, on the line, on and above these narratives, caste and religion, they also build nationalistic narratives. So these will sideline the regional, the true issues which the common man faces daily.
The point being said now is religion, caste, and other identities do have their impact both in national and state elections or simultaneous elections also. But as he wants to tell, the importance of regional issues, the importance of the state needs, and the historical experiences when people tried, as given example by audience, the state of Punjab was not encouraged in its regional issues. National issues were imposed on the state, and then the diversions of the society were seen. Experiences are bad, and hence regional issues do have their importance in a state election, which can be dominated by national parties in a simultaneous election, is the point being contended.
As she's saying that politicians are doing narrative building in the time of elections by bringing the caste and religion, but why they are bringing people also obsessed with the caste and religion on? That's the reason why they are bringing more, and they are doing narrative building for the people.
Before you also said one point that people are more aware, they know how to choose their representatives and all, but if they are influenced by religion and caste, how they are able to choose their representatives correctly?
The change has to come in people.
Then you also said that creating awareness is possible, no?
That we
you
have to
said
read.
that you have said that creating awareness is possible.
Yeah, it's possible, but it's not yet done.
But
We
if
have to
they
go
are-
in that way.
If they are sidelined with like caste and religion, if they are imposed with caste and religion issues, and how they will get
That
aware?
awareness has to be bring in people.
So,
Not just the state government. They have to know on their own. They're seeing based on the cash they are voting, and they're seeing what are the consequences. They have to think of it.
so rather than implementing elections one time in whole country, we should make initiatives to aware people.
That's what we can use the other money which is left to bring in the infrastructure to create awareness.
No, in the attempt of one nation, one election, we are going against the responsible government philosophy which is inscribed in our constitution. It is says that in our article number 75 clause 3, the representatives are collectively responsible to the house of people. But you are talking from the perspective of stable government, which is not the philosophy of our constitution.
But we had paid a lot of cost for unstable government also. It's not, I'm not telling that that's not important. It's important. Responsible government is the primary fundamentals of democracy. So it's very much needed. But the thing is, are we putting more cost and gaining less?
That's what we are asking.
The cost benefit analysis, which you also tried to put before in the discussion, the cost is more and the benefit is less. That's the point. Okay, so we had a fruitful discussion. As of now, the stakes seem to be against the proposal on a higher note, but as said by the people for the proposal, we have to take baby steps, or we have to initiate discussions, we have to make consensus, we have to bring awareness, and in structural reforms should be initiated. The constitutional mandates or the articles in the constitution, the amendments, the discussions should be initiated. That is the suggestion or the side taken by the people for the issue, for the proposal. And the people against the proposal say that the proposal of one nation, one election is against the fundamental principles of democracy, the fundamental principles of federation, and the intent of the current government is not only to, go against the federation, but also to catch a cycle of voters. So on this note, we hope the discussion added value to your understanding of the issue, and we will be back with another issue in the coming weekends, and We will try to enhance the understanding and we will deliver upon your expectations. Thank you for being, thank you for listening, and I thank all the panelists, all my friends to add value to the discussion, and I hope I also made a good role as a moderator, not taking any of the sides. So thank you everyone for your insights, and we hope next time we come again very soon. Thank you everyone from Ekam Ias Academy, Hyderabad. Thank you.